Hey, welcome to Perspective. In this podcast, we are just two regular people like you reflecting on life's big questions. Why are we here? What's the meaning of it all? There's a lot out there on these topics, but it can feel overly complicated. So, on this podcast, we'll read books, break down the ideas, and see how we can apply them in everyday life. We are sharing our conversations, hoping it helps spark some of your own reflections. So, to kick things off, what are we reading today?
I think it's a very interesting reading that we're going to do today. And if I may, this is the core wisdom found in the Hindu philosophy and comes from a very interesting and very old tale of a war, which is called Mahabharata. And within that tale comes a point, very interesting, dramatic turning point, in which the book has a chapter called Song of Gods. So we are going to read that today, and I think it's a very core philosophy of the Hindu religion, as I mentioned. So very interesting. Looking forward to it.
Okay, I think before starting the reading, I wanted to give a context to this. So, Mahabharata is basically there are two sides of same family who two they are basically cousins who are fighting for their claim on a kingdom. So basically when the this point where we are going to start the reading is the point where one of the warrior of one of the sides, Pandavas, is confused, has a lot of conflict as to should he do this, should he participate in this war or not. So at this point his friend, so basically this guy is Arjuna, and
The main guy is
the
Arjuna.
main guy, the warrior, one of the brothers in Pandava side. So he is the person I'm talking about who is in conflict about fighting this war against his own cousin brothers and relatives. And then his charioteer, who is also his friend, Krishna, gives him some wisdom. And basically Krishna is an avatar of God himself who is guiding him through the situation. So and this dialogue, or pretty much which is a monologue, but this is called as Bhagavad Gita, the Song of God. Okay, so let's start. Noble thoughts indeed, said Krishna, but where does this nobility come from? So basically, just this is response of Krishna to Arjuna's conflict, where he's saying that I won't fight the war because I'll have to kill my own brothers and own relatives for what, a piece of kingdom, sorry, a piece of land. So to this, Krishna is answering, noble thoughts indeed, said Krishna. But where does this nobility come from? Generosity or fear? Wisdom or ignorance? Suddenly, you are confronted by the enormity of the situation, the possibility of failure, the price of success, and you tremble. You wish it had not come to this. Rather than face the situation, you withdraw. Your decision is based on misreading of the situation. If you knew the world as it truly is, you would be in bliss even at this moment. I don't understand, said Arjuna.
Before moving forward, it's a very interesting thing to note on what you have read, and this is applicable, I think, for most of us also. So Krishna here encourages Arjuna to identify the source of his thought.
Yeah, yes.
So this is something which can be beneficial or applicable to all of us in our day-to-day lives. That whenever we are in conflict or in any case, it can be beneficial to always recognize where is it coming from.
Hmm. And that's where he's saying, right? Is it because of generosity or fear, wisdom or ignorance? So, and the most interesting line here is if you knew the world as it truly is, you would be in bliss even at this moment. Now this is very, it's a very deep statement that Krishna has made. He's saying that even when you know that you're going to fight a war, you're going to kill so many people, you will be bliss even at this moment.
Correct.
This you would be this will be possible only if the world view is right. His worldview is right now wrong. This is what Krishna is mentioning, and I think he'll be describing why he says so. But yeah.
And this is the connecting point, I think, between Hinduism and Buddhism as a religion, is that in both these religions, clearly state that happiness or blissfulness is something that you can achieve in this life. Whereas there are some other philosophical thoughts where in which blissfulness and happiness is always reserved for afterlife. So this is a very interesting thing to note.
Yeah. I don't understand, said Arjuna. It was then that Krishna sang his song, a song that explained to Arjuna the true nature of the world. This was the Bhagavad Gita, the song of God. Yes, you would kill hundreds of warriors, but that would be the death only of the flesh. Within this flesh is the immortal soul that never dies. It will be reborn. It will wrap itself in a new body as fresh clothes after old ones are discarded. What is a man's true identity? The temporary flesh or the permanent soul? What do you kill, Arjuna? What can you kill? The flesh exists to direct you to the soul. For the flesh enables you to experience all things temporary, your thoughts, your feelings, your emotions. The world around it is temporary. The body itself is temporary. Eventually, disappointed of all things temporary, you will seek permanence and eventually discover the soul. You grieve for the flesh right now, Arjuna, without even realizing the reason it exists. Of all living creatures, the human being is the most blessed. Krishna continued. For human flesh is blessed with intellect. I think even before going into this, here basically Krishna has established the concept of soul, something which is permanent, and the body, the flesh, is basically temporary, and what like he calls it cloth, a cloth, right? The body is a cloth to soul. So this concept in itself, see, there's nothing scientific about it, but if you believe in this, and in other scriptures it said that sages through meditation they have discovered this part of being which is permanent. They have felt that it exists. So even if we don't believe, let's assume that it's all a story, but what's the benefit in believing in the story? Basically it gives you a whole new perspective into a way of life. So Krishna says that soul is something permanent. You cannot kill the soul. You can kill the body, but you cannot kill the soul. So let's, for me, this concept takes me through all these beliefs that we so dearly cling to, that my body is everything.
You are
Usually,
your body.
yeah, usually we identify with our body. What and body consists of mind. Its functionings. It's all like all the thoughts and emotions and feelings that go on along with the body, like hands and legs and everything. So usually we identify with the body, right? And that's where I think this concept helps, that if you see that body is temporary and your soul is basically permanent, and the body will change and the soul will move on to another body after death. So it gives you a perspective that yes, body is an instrument, as Krishna also says in this paragraph, that body is an instrument to interact with the world, the nature. And this concept helps me look at it in this way, look at my body in this way, that I have to keep my body healthy because it is required to interact and to live in this world. But I am not this body. I am not my thoughts also. I am something else, which I don't know. But I am not this. It tells me that, like for example, beauty as a woman, it's just another level of freedom that you gain with this perspective. That beauty is temporary. We all know that. Today I may look a certain way, but after 5 years, after 10 years, I might not look like that. But people, they identify with body, with the face, with everything, with the skin and everything. And this concept gives us a whole new perspective to it, that I'm not this. I'm not this. It's just an instrument, and that's it. It's not my identity.
I have another way of looking at it with respect to the immortality, something that is immortal or something that is permanent. Um, if you think about it, a lot of people are seeking impermanence indirectly. For example, if you read about entrepreneurs, they have a very core need of creating something that outlasts them.
Legacy or impact.
Creating something that outlasts them. So, what it really means is that they know that they are impermanent. Their life is going to end. So, there comes a need to seek impermanence via whatever business that they create. Even a common man is looking to be impermanent via having children.
Being permanent.
Being permanent. We are having children. They know they are going to die, but they want their lineage, name, whatever you call it, to be permanent. That's why they have kids. So this is another way of looking at it, that all of us are seeking impermanence. Why? Because of something inside us which is impermanent, which is
Permanent.
permanent. I'm sorry. Yeah, but you get what you mean. So that is why. So this is a very important concept, and soul and Atman. These concepts, these are philosophical concepts. They are not scientific in the sense that you cannot measure them, you cannot repeat them, but you can indirectly feel and deduce that such concept exists. And another data point is that these concepts are common in a lot of a lot of religions originating in India.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I think by intuition also, I think you can say that
Yes.
there's something there which tells you. Like for example, we went to this trip, and then uh, I usually don't pack towel and this thing, right, the toiletries, but this time I did. For some reason I did, and eventually, like, we landed in a situation where we needed that.
True.
So I feel that intuition is something which is, again, like you call it sixth sense or whatever, but it also comes. It's an indication of something which is like beyond this physical world and all that. Okay, I think let's move forward. Let's see what is Krishna saying to Arjuna. Of all living creatures, the human being is the most blessed. For human flesh is blessed with intellect, buddhi. Humans alone can distinguish between all that is temporary and all that is not. Humans alone can distinguish between flesh and soul. Arjuna, you and all those on this battlefield have spent their entire life losing this opportunity. focusing more on mortal things than on things immortal. Your flesh receives information about the external world through your five sense organs, Gyan Indriyas, eye, ear, nose, tongue, and skin. Your flesh engages with the external material world through your five action organs, Karma Indriyas, hands, feet, face, anus, and genitals. Between the stimulus and the response, a whole series of processes take place in your mind. Manas. These processes construct your understanding of the material world. What you, Arjuna, consider as the battlefield is but a perception of your mind. And like all perceptions, it is not real.
Very deep intellect, very deep wisdom here, right? For perception.
Yeah. Your intellect is not aware of the soul, it seeks meaning and validation.
You cannot deny that. I mean, I think all smart people at some point will have come to a realization that you are seeking validation for your work, for your from your parents, friends, etc. And at some point, you have had this question to yourself that what is the purpose of this life? So that's meaning.
Yeah, intellect is also the part of your brain which is always doubting or questioning or seeking validation, uh, always trying to differentiate, right? So that's what Krishna said, that only humans have this distinguishing intellect or intelligence or whatever you call it. But basically, in all the other animals or living creatures, for that matter, plants also, they don't have this ability, right? And that's why humans are special. They have this choice. They have this choice of taking a decision at any given situation. And Krishna will actually tell this in the coming paragraphs, that that is why we have an option to go beyond the law of jungle, where law of jungle is just basically survival. You see your prey, you won't have an option as a lion. If you're a lion, you see a deer, you won't have an option that, or this thought won't come to your mind that, okay, this deer looks pretty, let me just leave it. Or any kind of generosity would not come to a lion, because the law of jungle states this, that I am powerful, that is my food, I need food, I'll attack it, that's it. So this choice is intellect, what Krishna is talking about. And yeah, I think we'll go from here. Basically, Krishna is trying to break down the functioning of the mind, and let's see what he says.
And I would also like to take this moment to take a step back and reiterate the reason of doing this. The reason that we're doing perspective is because of this same need that we all have. Same need that we, or not only me and you, but all the listeners who have faced at some point of in their life of seeking meaning and of going out of that loop of seeking validation and why they do what they do and figuring it out at a certain level. This is the reason of us in this podcast reading things and trying to make sense out of it. That is the core or why of why we're doing this.
Good. So Krishna continues. He says, why does intellect exist? It seeks answers in the material world and finds that everything in the material world is mortal. Nothing is immortal. Awareness of death generates fear.
That is a very, very insightful thing. Why are we fearful? Why is there a need for every human being that we look around us of accumulating things? It is because of fear.
Yes.
And I would encourage listeners to see all the things that you're doing out of fear.
Most of our actions are driven out of fear only. Fear of death, basically.
Fear of death, even fear of always confirming, especially with India and folks living here of conforming to a particular behavior out of the fear of being left out of their community and their groups, which is indirectly a fear of dying.
Yeah. So I have this was also mentioned in Freedom from the Known. There's a separate section where Jiddu Krishnamurti is also breaking down fear, and he also says that you should identify what are your fears, like fear of missing out, FOMO, right? So a lot of things
Fear
are
of dying alone.
fear of dying alone, fear of abandonment, fear
There
of
are fears.
yeah.
Which are indirectly related to fear of death.
Yes, it's like if you just break all your fears down, they might at surface level they might feel that they're all very different, but the root cause is always fear of death.
And humans are the only creatures who are aware of their death.
Yes. So yeah, that's what Krishna is saying here, that awareness of death generates fear. It makes the intellect feel invalidated and worthless.
Correct. It's
Because
one thing you're fearful of and you cannot prevent it.
yes.
That's why recently, I mean, it's so funny. Recently, there's been a movement by a US guy named, I think, Brian Johnson. And what his movement or his actions are is about preventing aging.
Yeah, yes.
He's taking all sorts of whatever medicines and stuff. And lo and behold, recently I read this on Twitter today that he is coming to India for his first incubation. And it's so easy to fool us. Whereas this wisdom, this piece of text that we are reading, was written before before psychology as a concept was born. The field of psychology before it was born, and we will read so many insightful things in this chapter that are psychological principles found
Yes.
in textbooks.
Yes.
And I'm not saying this because of some second information. I've read myself of those textbooks, and then I know that they are the psychological principles.
Yeah.
But again, this is a need. This is something that so many of us would love to have. That being immortal.
Yeah. Yeah, I was listening to somebody here saying that after you become rich, like super rich, what do? You do so many things just to increase your longevity. Elon Musk को देख लो, उसका वो मार्स क्यों जा रहा है?
Boy, Elon Musk, I'm a fan of Elon Musk और बहुत इधर है humanity. Anyway, let's not get
वो भी out of fear of death ही है.
Maybe, yeah.
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 So, मतलब after a rich man has conquered so many things, ठीक है, in his life. Now he wants to conquer death also,
Yeah.
and that's what he's like.
Yeah.
That's what his even Krishna is mentioning here. It makes the intellect feel invalidated and worthless. From fear is born the ego, ahankar. The ego contaminates the mind to comfort the intellect. It focuses on events and memories and desires that validate its existence and makes it feel immortal and powerful. It shuns all that makes it feel worthless and mortal. Right now, your ego controls your mind, Arjuna. It gives greater value to the finite experience of your flesh and distracts you from the infinite experience of your soul. Hence, your anxiety, fear, and delusion.
यहाँ पे जो ये कॉन्सेप्ट है ईगो का, दिस इज इम्पोर्टेंट टू अंडरस्टैंड, and I'll share my understanding of it based on what I have read in some psychological textbooks. So, ego, as it mentions, ego is born for survival, for your survival. Okay, and your survival is based on controlling three things. As a human being, for your survival, in order for you to survive, you have to control nature. बिकॉज कोई भी नेचर इज वेरी पावरफुल. अगर तुम जंगल में जाके रहने का ट्राई करोगे, यू विल अंडरस्टैंड कि डेथ कैन हैपन एट एनी मोमेंट. सो यू आर ट्राइंग टू कंट्रोल नेचर. ईगो इज ट्राइंग टू कंट्रोल नेचर. सेकेंड थिंग यू हैव टू कंट्रोल इज योर सेल्फ in terms of let's say behaving in a particular way in a group. for you to survive, let's say if you have a child, if you have a newborn child, human newborn child are very uh, weak and easily die. So that's why you need protection of a group. Okay, so that's how you need to control yourself, your urges. That's where ego plays role. And finally, you will need ego helps you to control over others. Basically, you have to convince other people, you have to influence them, work as a group. So that is the purpose of ego. It helps you to survive. So do not like try to. What I'm encouraging is try to think of it ego as in a very objective manner as an instrument of survival.
Yeah, so that's what even Krishna is kind of making ego the enemy here. That ego contaminates the mind. Contaminates the mind. So basically, what he's saying is ego is controlling your mind, and the actions that you're doing out of the result of this ego controlled mind is causing you problems.
Correct.
Anxiety, fear, delusion, anger, all these things are coming because of this ego controlled mind. And another thing that he tells us, ego makes you feel special, immortal, the center of the universe.
You have observed this whenever, I mean, the child is conditioned that way. When you are given attention, when you're small, when parents and relatives and friends give you attention, there is something you like about it.
Yes.
And that need does not go away when you become older. So any praise that you get, the thing inside you which makes you feel good about yourself
Is ego.
is ego, and the same thing which feels bad when you lose or when you feel insulted. That is also the same thing that is getting affected.
Yeah. So ego ka kaam basically is for survival,
Correct.
is to give you comfort,
Correct.
is to basically control everything, manipulate everything around you. Now, what you mentioned was nature, other people, ourselves. So it controls, manipulates everything to favor this body, to favor me.
Correct.
So, and that is the role.
That is the role.
That is why ego
Exists.
to protect us. But because of this, a lot of other things also happen, which Krishna will explain. Your mind retains memory of all past stimulations, those that evoke fear and those that generate comfort. Your mind also imagines situations that frighten you and comfort you. Goaded by your ego, you suppress memories that cause pain and prefer memories that bring pleasure. Goaded by your ego, you imagine situations that the ego seeks and shuns. Right now, Arjuna, on this battlefield, nothing has happened, but a lot is occurring in your mind. Memories resurface as ghosts, and imagination descends like a demon. That is why you suffer. Your ego constructs a measuring scale to evaluate a situation. This measuring scale determines your notions of fearful or comforting, painful or pleasurable, right or wrong, good or bad, appropriate or inappropriate. It is informed by the values of the world you live in, but it is always filtered by the ego before being accepted. Right now, Arjuna, what you consider right is based on your measuring scale. What Duryodhana considers right is based on his measuring scale. Which measuring scale is appropriate? Is there one free of bias?
Yeah, there are a couple of cool things out here, and first thing I would like to point out is again this one thing I mentioned. See, this text is thousands of years old, and psychology as a field has just evolved in the last 50, 70 years. But if you read psychology, there is a pain called as pleasure seeking and pain avoidance pain. So, human being as an organism is always trying to repeat pleasure and avoid pain.
Yes, that's true.
तुमको किसी कंपनी पसंद आई, the fact that you have met them once and texting them, calling them again, is a part of repeating pleasure. So you experiencing resistance for meditating, your body experiencing resistance for, and again मतलब इसमें why not, we have this habit of consuming social media apps content. So not doing that, that is pleasurable. That is pleasurable. Your mind really likes new things.
Yes.
And not doing that would be painful. So we avoid pain. We don't let go of that habit. I've deleted Instagram, but I think I spend equal number of hours on Reddit now. So I'm avoiding pain in that way.
Yeah.
So this is one thing I wanted to point out. Now connected to that is, I'll bring mindfulness out here. What is exactly mindfulness? Mindfulness is that ability to note that your mind has gone somewhere else other than the present moment. It's that ability basically. So that's again what this text talk about, that your mind has this ability. You are here. Arjuna is in that battlefield, but his mind has the ability to simulate a lot of things. What has not occurred. So again, connecting it to mindfulness as a concept. And the final thing that I think it's very amazing, and the first time I read this blew my mind and gave me so much insight, was the difference in scales.
Yeah. Yeah. This I think is also man is a measure of things. ये किसी ग्रीक प्लेटो या सोक्रेटिस दोनों में से कोई एक था, किसी ग्रीक फिलोसोफर ने भी ये चीज बोली है.
Man is
Man is the measure of all things. Basically the same thing कि everybody has their own measuring scale. What Krishna was saying कि मेरे लिए क्या सही है ये मेरा ईगो डिसाइड करता है. तुम्हारे लिए क्या सही है ये तुम्हारा ईगो डिसाइड करता है. तुम्हारे लिए क्या गलत है, क्या पेनफुल है, क्या फियरफुल है, क्या अच्छा है, तुम्हारे हिसाब से क्या एक्शन गलत है, ये भी तुम्हारा दिमाग डिसाइड करता है, तुम्हारा ईगो डिसाइड करता है तुम्हारे लिए. तो और इसलिए इसने बोला कि विच मेजरिंग स्केल इज अप्रोप्रिएट, क्योंकि सबका तो अपना है. कौन सा है जो बायस नहीं है. तो ये मेरे लिए भी मतलब मैंने तो उस फिलोसोफर की ये लाइन पढ़ी थी और उसके बाद यहाँ पे भी सेम चीज मेरे को पढ़ने मिली. और मैं ऐसे थी कि वाओ, मतलब दिस इज सो ट्रू. मतलब जैसे फॉर एग्जाम्पल अगर क्योंकि मैं इंडिया में पैदा हुई हूँ, यहीं पे पली बड़ी हूँ, तो मेरे लिए सुबह उठ के पूजा करना ये अच्छी बात है. लेकिन मे बी अफ्रीका में कोई होगा जिसके यहाँ पे मतलब ऐसा कुछ होता ही नहीं है, तो मतलब उसके लिए ये अच्छा बुरा कुछ है ही नहीं मतलब. तो उसका मेजरिंग स्केल वो डिफाइन कर रहा है. और ये सब ऑब्वियसली मतलब हमारी कंडीशनिंग, हमारे पीपल हु आर सराउंडिंग अस, एनवायरनमेंट, कल्चर, ये सब डिफाइन करता है. एंड इट जस्ट टेल्स यू कि ये सब कुछ मैन मेड है.
Correct.
ये सब कुछ मैन मेड है.
Yes.
यहाँ पे कुछ इंडियन जुडिशियल सिस्टम के हिसाब से गलत हो सकता है, बट वो यूएस में गलत नहीं है. सो ये सब कुछ अपने अपने रिलेटिव, हाँ ये सब मेजरिंग स्किल्स खुद के सबने बना लिए हैं और लोगों ने उसको वैलिडेशन दे दिया, सोशल वैलिडेशन मिल गया है उस चीज को. तो भाई अब वो सही ही है, ये गलत ही है. सो दिस ऑल्सो गिव्स यू दिस थिंग कि कितना, इसलिए सब इल्यूजन बोलते हैं कि दिस इज ऑल माया, कि ये तो मतलब सब पता नहीं क्या ही चल रहा है दुनिया में. अगर तुम ऐसे देख सोचो,
It's very confusing if you don't know this.
हाँ
It's very confusing, conflicting if you don't know this, that not everybody has the same measuring scale as you, so it will be different.
या और फिर वो हम बोलते हैं ना कि तुम तब तक फील नहीं समझ नहीं सकते जब तक तुम पे ना बीते. ये बहुत ही कॉमनली सेड चीज होती है कि यू कैन नॉट फील दैट थिंग until it has happened to you, and that is because when it happens to you your measuring scale shifts.
Yeah. Again, you can realize if your measuring scale is always shifting, then it's not permanent.
It's not permanent. ये पत्थर की लकीर नहीं है. So yeah, I think this concept is so powerful. ईगो का कॉन्सेप्ट जो यहाँ पे एक्सप्लेन किया है, The world that you perceive is actually a delusion based on your chosen measuring scale. New memories and new imaginations can change this measuring scale, hence your perception of the world. Only the truly enlightened know the world as it truly is. The rest construct a reality that comforts the ego. The enlightened are therefore always at peace, while the rest are constantly restless and insecure. If you were enlightened, Arjuna, you could have been in this battlefield, bow in hand, but still in peace. If you were enlightened, Arjuna, you would have fought without anger, killed without hate. Your ego clings to things that grant it maximum comfort. The purpose of life then becomes the pursuit of comfort generating states and the shunning of fear generating states. Attainment of desirable states brings joy. Failure to do so becomes sorrow. The ego clings tenaciously to things and ideas that validate its existence. The ego does everything in its power to establish and retain a permanent territorial hold over all external states that give it joy. Do you realize, Arjuna? All you want is to reclaim or recreate situations that give you joy. You have attached your emotions to external events. Separate them. आई थिंक ये यही पे सब है, यही है द की टू फॉर एवर पीस. If you understand these couple of paragraphs, so you will become detached. तो जैसे ये बोल रहे हैं कि ईगो इज बेसिकली ट्राइंग टू go behind comfort generating states and shun fear generating states. और वो कुछ भी कर सकता है. It will make you do anything that will give you comfort and take you away from fear. जितने इमोरल चीजें होती हैं वो खुद के लिए ही होती है. इन द एंड इट्स ऑल सेल्फिश. इट्स ऑल सेल्फिश. क्योंकि ईगो तुमसे वो सब कराएगा जो तुम्हें एक अपर हैंड देगा, क्योंकि वो सर्वाइवल के लिए इंपॉर्टेंट है. वो तुमको कंफर्ट देता है, वो तुमको सेंस ऑफ कंट्रोल, पावर देता है. ग्रीड, लस्ट, एंगर, एंजाइटी, ये सब जो चीजें हैं वो सब ईगो ड्रिवन ही है, क्योंकि वो उधर जाएगा. अभी मुझे
Anything directed towards yourself is evil.
एनीथिंग
Directed towards yourself,
योरसेल्फ एज
like for your pleasure, is ego driven.
करेक्ट, इज ईगो ड्रिवन. लाइक मुझे पता है कि मैगी नहीं खानी चाहिए, लेकिन देयर इज दिस अर्ज ना कि मैगी खानी है.
Where like purpose of life is pursuit of comfort generating states.
यस.
And it is true, unfortunately, that in today's day and age, nobody likes to talk about purpose of life. मतलब ऐसी फिलोसफिकल बातें क्यों ही करनी है?
ये पूरा चैप्टर ही क्यों पढ़ना,
हाँ,
क्यों डिस्कस
मतलब क्या मतलब क्यों ही ऐसा, इससे अच्छा तुम कंटेंट देख लो. सो पर्पस ऑफ लाइफ के बारे में अगर तुम सोचोगे नहीं तो इट इनएविटेबली बिकम्स अ सीरीज ऑफ सीकिंग कंफर्ट जनरेटिंग स्टेट्स. आई थिंक
या दैट्स ट्रू. जैसे जो कुछ लोग हैं जो वीगन है, वो क्यों वीगन है?
मुझे नहीं पता.
क्योंकि वो वहां पे उन्होंने ये देखा वहां पे, अभी आगे जाके बोलेंगे कि यू शुड बाय डिफॉल्ट यू आर रनिंग ऑन ईगो. योर माइंड इज कंट्रोल्ड बाय ईगो, बट इंस्टेड इट शुड बी कंट्रोल्ड बाय इंटेलेक्ट. मतलब अभी क्या है, ईगो इज द गेट कीपर. ठीक है, सारे जो स्टिमुलाई आ रहे हैं तुम्हारे पास वो ईगो, जो तुम्हारा रेस्पॉन्स है वो तुम्हारा ईगो ड्रिवन है. तो ये बोलते हैं कि इट शुड बी इंटेलेक्ट ड्रिवन. इट शुड बी, यू शुड हैव द चॉइस ऑफ ओवर योर एक्शन. ठीक है, तो कोई वीगन क्यों बनेगा? मेरे को नहीं चाहिए कि मैं, ही सीज दैट नेचर इज इम्पॉर्टेंट पार्ट ऑफ आर एग्जिस्टेंस. ठीक है, ये पूरा मतलब जो फूड साइकिल है ये सब, ठीक है, एक बैलेंस मेंटेन करके रखना है. तो उनको ऐसा लगता है कि कुछ भी जो एक्सप्लॉइट करता है एनिमल्स को, वो इवेंचुअली नेचर के बैलेंस को अफेक्ट करेगा एंड इवेंचुअली इट्स गोइंग टू हार्म अस. ठीक है. तो इसीलिए आई विल ट्राई नॉट टू कॉज हार्म और पेन टू दिस अनदर स्पीशीज विच आर ऑल्सो लिविंग, विच ऑल्सो गेट दिस पेन एंड ऑल. एंड मेरे को नहीं चाहिए कि मैं इनको हार्म करूं एंड इवेंचुअली इट इज गोइंग टू हार्म मी ऑल्सो. सो यहाँ पे भी ईगो काम किया है, बट यहाँ पे थोड़ा इंटेलेक्ट भी आया है. उन्होंने अपना, किसी को चिकन, मैंने देखा है उन लोगों को चिकन खाना बहुत पसंद है, दूध पीना बहुत पसंद है, लेकिन वो छोड़ देते हैं for the sake of animals and for the sake of nature's balance. So this is not an ego driven action, it is an intellect driven action. और वो अपने अर्ज पे, अपने प्लेजर सीकिंग अर्ज पे कंट्रोल कर रहे हैं. ऑल्दो देर इज ईगो इन्वॉल्व हियर ऑल्सो, कि मतलब नेचर इम्बैलेंस हो जाएगा तो हम लोग को भी अफेक्ट करेगा, तो वो है. लेकिन still it's better than like mindlessly just exploiting animals. So this is also a good example जहाँ पे people are driven by intellect and not by their ego, just selfishly like going behind their pleasures.
Okay. I'm not going to categorize anybody here. I'm looking for wisdom, and whatever helps me in being more blissful, more peaceful, more happy. I want to understand those concepts. That's my intention.
The external world is like the flesh, by nature transient and ever changing. Governed by laws of space and time, it fluctuates between the three states: guna, inertia, agitation, and harmony. Acha, sorry.
States are guna. There are three gunas according to this philosophy. There are three gunas, and everybody is a mixture of these three states, where one state can be dominating and others not. So the three states are: one is agitation, rajas, that's called as rajas. All the activity is categorized under this. Then there is inertia, right? Opposite of that. Inertia is tamas. Things when you feel lazy, not feel like doing anything. That is tamas. And then between these two is sattva, harmony. So, and you have observed this in yourself also, that there are certain times where you feel not doing anything. That's where tamas is being dominated. There are times when you are feeling very motivated and you want to do your work, get results. That is rajas. But what we are talking about, and what I think this text is talking about, is the things which are in harmony. And this again connects back to, I think we read also in, I think, some Buddha's wisdom, that he meditated on a leaf and then he figured out that everything is connected. So this is, I think, the sattva is the quality that is being promoted out here.
Yeah, and this also is there in nature. It's not only in us. It's there in the functioning of nature also.
Correct.
कि मतलब वो बैलेंस की तरफ जाना चाहती है, ठीक है, लेकिन देर आर टाइम्स वेयर इट गोज डिस्ट्रक्टिव एंड देर आर टाइम्स वेयर इट्स बेसिकली डूइंग, इट्स जस्ट मेंटेनिंग इट्स स्टेट, एंड देर आर टाइम्स वेयर इट इज क्रिएटिंग थिंग्स. तो वो ये भी ऑसिलेशन नेचर में होता है. और जैसे मतलब हम लोग जितना हम डिस्ट्रक्शन में लगे हुए हैं नेचर के, तो वो भी दिखाएगी अपना मतलब रजस. Okay, so no matter how hard you try, Arjuna, the ones you love will die, either on the battlefield or in the palace. No matter how hard you try, Arjuna, all things that you shun or disapprove will come into your life again and again. War and peace will alternate like joy and summer, joy and sorrow, summer and winter, flood and drought. Changes in external states make your ego insecure. The ego therefore struggles to prevent any change. If change gives the ego pleasure, then it will pursue change and struggle against stillness and stagnation. When unable to get its way, the ego experiences suffering and rage. It forces the body to reinstate things as they were. From this desire to make the world align to ego's measuring scale come all pain and suffering and rage.
Very insightful sentence.
ये तो ये तो सब में ही होता है, मतलब हर कोई चेंज को रेजिस्ट करता है.
You're all trying to. I mean, this is a notion that I don't know. Most of us have. I have had that this world is there to fulfill all your desires, whims,
हाँ.
and or whatever you want. Maybe जिस तरीके से you have been raised up. When you were a child, every want of yours is fulfilled. So maybe it comes from there. I don't know, but I am 100% sure the fact that a lot of pain and suffering arises from the fact that everything is not going to work out the way you want it to.
Yeah, that's true. और वही चीज़ यहाँ लिखी है. Refusal to accept the flow of the world is root of all misery. Thus, it is with you, Arjuna. You want to control the world. You want the world to behave as you wish. It does not. Hence, your anger and your grief. So that's it for this episode. This was the part 1 of the 2 episodes that we are going to do on this same topic. I hope you liked it. I hope it ignited some of your thoughts, gave you some aha moments, some self discovery happened while listening to that, or maybe your worldview changed. Let us know if this brought about any change in you. Thank you.